We're live. Countdown. Hello, I am Willie Bragg. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show today, and I hope this day finds you well. The reason I want to talk about Tulsi Gabbard and what makes everything kind of difficult about Tulsi Gabbard is that she's a juxtaposition. And I had a lot of admiration for her, and then I became very angry with her. And she sort of gets me in a situation where I'm like very angry with her one day. Then the next day she makes me happy with what she says. And I can't read her a lot of times. She confuses the hell out of me. And so, she's just a really bizarre person to figure out. And a lot of people, when it comes to the topic of discussing Tulsi Gabbard, they are confused by my perception and my position on Tulsi Gabbard too. So I think that we need to begin at the beginning and go from the beginning to where she's at right now, because right now she's making a reputation. Seemingly lately, she's always on Fox News, either on Tucker Carlson or on Sean Hannity. That seems to be where she's at lately. And I have a whole lot to say about that, because everybody says she's grifted into conservatism. And honestly, I don't know. I really don't know if where she's at. I have no idea. I don't know where she's at. And so, but let's begin at the beginning, because maybe all of y'all can help me in the audience here. Okay. So, let's start going back into history, and I'm going to, let me do this here. Sorry. In the year 2016, she dropped out of the Democratic National Committee. She was the vice chair, and she ended up supporting Bernie Sanders, because she said that she knew that Bernie Sanders was being cheated against. And here she was at the Democratic Party convention. She was the AOC of 2016, before there was an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. For those today who looks at me weird and it's like, you like Tulsi Gabbard? With my politics. She was an AOC of her time, believe it or not. Of course, I have my opinions on AOC too. But anyway, here she is, and we'll go further.
Inspired by Aloha, determined to seek a future rooted in love, compassion, and justice for all, and dedicated to a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. I am truly honored to nominate Bernie Sanders for President of the United States. Please.
In 2016, she was a BernieBro. That's a gender-neutral term, by the way. She was a BernieBro. She supported Bernie Sanders in 2016. And, and that was the smart choice to make. Unfortunately, Bernie Sanders did not get the nomination because he was cheated. And I know that some of y'all probably like, there he goes again talking about that. I'm sorry. I'm really pissed off. All these Trump tards out there bitching about 2020 being cheated. No. You want to know what cheated is? Bernie Sanders getting cheated twice. 2016, 2020. Same motherfuckers. Fuck Nina Turner over in 2021 and 2022. Guess this past Tuesday. That's cheating right there. Anyway, suffice to say, Tulsi Gabbard supported Bernie Sanders. Now, in 2019, she declared her candidacy for president. I think she should have been a campaign surrogate for Bernie Sanders. But I also think that around that time, I think that in her mind, she was an opportunist. And I think that when she declared her candidacy, I think back then she was campaigning for vice president. That's what I think. And I think it was unofficial, but I think she was Bernie Sanders' unofficial campaign attack dog. Bernie Sanders take the high road, and she was there to take all the other candidates out of the way, one by one. That is what I believe happened. And I think that some of the media people believe that too. And that is why not only were they trying to fuck Bernie Sanders over, and he was too big to fuck over right away. Oh, they eventually got to him and some of the other candidates. But they looked at Tulsi Gabbard and they were like, we're going to knock her out of the way first. So, it started with this. It started with this right here. And I call this my most favorite moment of the 2020 campaign. I was for Bernie Sanders, but my favorite moment was a Tulsi Gabbard moment. And I think most of y'all in my audience will remember this. And I'll have some words momentarily. Here we go.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. That would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about re-entering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who are on death row, innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Senator Harris.
My entire career, I have been personally opposed to the death penalty, and that has never changed. And I dare anybody who is in a position to make that decision, to face the people I have faced, to say, I will not seek the death penalty. That is my background. That is my work. I am proud of it. I think you can judge people by when they are under fire, and it's not about some fancy opinion on a stage, but when they're in the position to actually make a decision, what do they do? When I was in the position of having to decide whether or not to seek a death penalty on cases I prosecuted, I made a very difficult decision that was not popular to not seek the death penalty. History shows that.
Okay, let me do this here. Okay. Let me tell y'all something about that moment. That was my favorite moment in the 2019-2020 campaign. It was in 2019 when I saw that. And I'm going to tell y'all something about it. She destroyed Kamala Harris's campaign right there. And I'm going to tell you what happened to me when I saw that. I pitched a tent with Tulsi Gabbard. I had an erection. In layman's term, I had a hard-on. And I went to town with myself that night. I went to town. She turned me on when she did that. Oh my God, she did. My goodness. That was my favorite moment. It was such that moment. That was such a blast. Literally later on that evening was such a blast. I almost wanted to support her and forget about Bernie Sanders for the rest of that campaign, but I was just like, no, think with my brain, don't think with my willy. So, but the point is that she was awesome. I was like, holy cow! Well, they went after her. This is when they went after her. Just shortly after that, I took a trip. I took a trip out of the country, and as I was taking the trip out of the country, I remember on the news. What was going on, and it was just bringing me back memories from the previous 4 years, going back to the Bernie Sanders Hillary Clinton race in the 2016. Hillary Clinton went on about Tulsi. She didn't mention Tulsi Gabbard by name, but she talked about a Russian asset. This is one of the reasons why I really frown on anti-Russia hysteria in spite of the shit that's going on in the Ukraine right now, because some people are getting mad at Tucker Carlson, who claims that this is not saying that I'm a fan of Tucker Carlson saying this, but a stop clock gets the right time twice a day, because he came up with this conclusion. Now, I don't agree with Tucker Carlson, but he's not wrong when he thinks that this war in Ukraine is basically Democrats trying to pay back for supposedly Putin putting Trump in power in 2016, which is horseshit. Hillary Clinton did this shit to herself. She was a sorry fucking candidate. And anyway, but Hillary Clinton, she claimed that they're grooming a candidate, a female candidate, to be a third-party candidate, as if being a third-party candidate is something terrible. Yeah, to go and to make sure that Trump wins the second term. These are the same people that said that Bernie Sanders is a puppet of Putin and Jill Stein is a puppet of Putin. They have said that all kinds of people are Putin's puppet. So, I still frown at this anti-Russia hysteria. Putin is a son of a bitch. He's a piece of shit. He's a piece of work. What he's doing to Ukraine is horrible. But we have no fucking business there. And she's not wrong on those issues, Tulsi Gabbard. And she was correct to sue Hillary Clinton for $50 million. And she was wrong to drop the lawsuit when she dropped out of the campaign. And she was wrong when she decided to back Biden over Bernie Sanders over some personal shit, referring to Tulsi Gabbard. So anyway, and that was kind of like the beginning of the end. There was a whole lot of shit I have talked about 2 years ago that I'd rather not go back to talking about once again. But there's been a big grift, and she started, instead of talking about Julian Assange and start talking about, she still talk about the anti-war stuff, the interventionist war, the military-industrial complex, Ed Snowden. She's got balls to be talking about that, but she started to talk about other things too that women's sports, trans women in sports. And I'm just like, you're exiting out of Congress. They're talking about force to vote. Couldn't you get with a squad to talk about force to vote instead of the culture war shit? I'm thinking that. But, she gets beaten up for going on Fox News. And this is where I don't have I defend Tulsi Gabbard being on Fox News. I defend Jimmy Dore going on Fox News. I defend Glenn Greenwald going on Fox News. I defend Bernie Sanders when he goes on Fox News. Dennis Kucinich has been on Fox News. My God, even that annoying Nomiki Coates that's on Majority Report, she now goes on Fox News, and she goes and she was about ready to criticize some of these others for going on Fox News, and she goes on Fox News herself. But the point is, she goes on Fox News, and they give her a hard time. Now, most of the time, even if she's gotten a little more conservative, when she goes on Tucker Carlson, don't really have much of a problem most of the time when she's on Tucker Carlson. And I'm going to give you an example of what she talks about on Tucker Carlson, because there's a context to this. So bear with me here, please. And we shall start. This is from April 16 last year. And boy, oh boy, didn't she get this correct. I mean, and people were talking like Tulsi Gabbard during the Bush-Cheney years. I'm talking about Democrats. And why aren't Democrats talking like this today? It's beyond me. I have some answers. I already answered some of it earlier. But here we go. Here's a segment of her being on Tucker Carlson.
Well, we've been arguing about pronouns here in the United States and wondering why 2x4s now cost $9 a piece. There's real drama unfolding in Europe. Tensions between Ukraine and Russia are the highest they have been in a very long time. And we get some sense that there are political elements, mostly in the Democratic Party, not exclusively though, who would like to see a war in Europe. What is this, and how concerned should we be about it? Tulsi Gabbard has paid a lot of attention to this. She's a former member of Congress from the state of Hawaii. We're happy to have her on tonight. Congresswoman, thanks so much for coming on. So is this conflict moving toward war, and are there leaders in this country who would like to see that, do you think?
It is moving in a very dangerous direction, and the question for the American people is, are we willing to go to war with Russia on behalf of Ukraine? And we need to understand that such a war would come at a cost beyond anything that we can really imagine. Because this is not a war that is just, okay, this is going to be something that's happening to someone else, somewhere else on the other side of the world. No, this is something that will directly impact me and you, Tucker, every single one of your viewers, and all of our loved ones. And this is a war that is not a game. It's a war in which there are no winners, because you've got, thousands of nuclear weapons that the United States has aimed towards Russia. Russia has thousands of nuclear weapons aimed towards us that could hit any town or city in America in less than 30 minutes and exact a cost upon every one of us that would result in excruciating death and suffering beyond comprehension. Hundreds of millions of people dying and suffering, seeing their flesh being burned from their bones. This is something that you can't really even imagine, and it's a cost that we will all pay.
Why in the world would we ever contemplate going to war with Russia, honestly?
It is one that we should not do for those very reasons.
Yeah.
If you look at the impacts of what a nuclear war brings, it really brings about the end of the world as we know it, and our leaders should understand this consequence and take it seriously. And this is why President Biden, instead of continuing to escalate tensions and continuing this new Cold War between the United States and Russia, he needs to de-escalate these tensions, kind of, take the heat out of it and actually focus on bringing an end to this new Cold War. Because if he doesn't, then it's not a question of if we go to war with Russia, if this war ends up with a nuclear holocaust. It really is then just a question of when. And if we continue down this path that we are on, it's something that could happen a lot sooner than any of us think.
I'm just amazed by the magnitude of the stories that all of us are missing, including those of us who are paid to follow this stuff, and especially this story. And so I appreciate how you so crisply and wisely assessed that. It's terrifying. Thank you. Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, now that was an example of a typical segment of Tulsi Gabbard regularly appearing now these days on Tucker Carlson. And as I said, when I watch her on Tucker Carlson, there's really very seldom do I find what she has to say troublesome. Very, very seldom. But then I will sit when I do watch Hannity. Is where I get a little bit concerned, and I have been very patient. I'm more patient than a lot of people on my side of the fence, but this is where I get concerns. But there's context. So anybody who's a fan of Tulsi Gabbard in my audience, and I got a few people who are fans, just bear with me. I have some explanations, and once I make my explanation, I think you will understand what I'm getting at. Okay, so hold tight. This is from November 5th last year, 2021, and this is Tulsi Gabbard on Sean Hannity here. Here we go. Okay, as soon as
Here now with reaction, someone who was also targeted by members of her own party, former Democratic presidential candidate, Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. Congresswoman, welcome back. When you see that video, and you know that Joe Biden is trying to bring some basic common sense back to the party, what's your reaction?
Sean, what bothered me most when I saw that video was really the exaggeration and the dishonesty, where you have people there who are essentially trying to create a viral moment and a headline and yelling out, Joe Manchin's trying to run us over. This is just the latest example of a disturbing, larger pattern of dishonesty and disrespect for the American people, where they think that we're just stupid. We saw this in the excuses that were laid out when McAuliffe lost in Virginia. They said, oh, well, Youngkin won because he sounded his dog whistle, and then all the dogs came out and voted. And that's why he won. And it reveals really what they think about us, that we're stupid, that we're dogs, that we don't have intelligence or free will to make our own decisions for ourselves. And therefore, we should just trust them in their arrogant attitude that they and the big government, they know what's best for us, and they'll make the best decisions for us.
I use the analogy. I was the MC the night Newt Gingrich became Speaker in 1994, and it was a wake-up call. Remember, Republicans have been out of power in the House of Representatives for 40 years, and it became a wake-up call for Bill Clinton, and that's when he changed gears, and the era of big government is over, the end of welfare as we know it. This modern Democratic Socialist Party,
it's not socialist,
I do not see has any capacity to change course or adjust. What we've seen since Tuesday is full steam ahead on socialism. Do you see the same thing?
It's not socialist. Nitwit.
What I see is this continued disrespect of the American people. And that's where you look at the underlying problem here, is that we don't have leaders who actually respect the American people, who actually respect us enough to listen to what parents are concerned about, their children and their education, to listen to the American people who are sick and tired of the power elite trying to tear us apart based on the color of our skin. They don't respect us enough to listen. So how can we ever expect them to actually act in our best interest rather than the interests of themselves, their power, or the power of the elite?
I'm watching Joe Manchin, and natural gas and coal, these are huge industries in his state. These policies will directly and negatively impact the people of West Virginia. So he's standing up for the people that put him in office. As you look at this emerging party led by the Squad, led by New Green Deal socialism, do you even consider yourself a Democrat anymore?
I'm less concerned about party politics. Yes, I'm a Democrat, but I'm less concerned about party politics than I am concerned about the future of our country, given the kind of leadership that we're seeing, this kind of self-serving leadership that plunges forward. You just played a few different clips that really, again, reveal the arrogance of this leadership that plunges forward without any regard for the cost and consequences on the American people in the short term or the long term, the cost and consequences on our freedoms, on the undermining of our constitutional rights. There are deeper issues here that really need to be brought to the forefront that most in the media are not even talking about.
There was a period in my life, Congresswoman, where I had to struggle for a lot of years to pay rent. I know what it's like. The high cost of gasoline, totally preventable. We were energy independent. Why would we ever give that up? What happened at the border, totally preventable. We had a policy that was working. Afghanistan, another example. We could have withdrawn when we had full control of Kabul and all the surrounding areas. We had months to do it. They didn't do it. And then you look at inflation. Then you look at energy prices. And you put all of this together. Who's getting hurt here? The people that make this country great, the working men and women of America, the people that really, really, the poor, the middle class, paying $1.50 more a gallon, I can afford it, but a lot of people can't. And there seems to be a disconnect in terms of caring about those people.
And that's really what's at the heart of the frustration that people across the country are feeling right now, is that they are not being heard, that they are not being seen, that their challenges really are not being addressed by those in power. You listed a number of different challenges, and our representatives in government, they'll have different ideas on how to address those things. But when you look at issues related to open borders and immigration, when you look at issues related to our national security, when you look at issues related to energy independence, we can have different ideas on how to accomplish those things. But those things are concerns that are central to all of us, regardless of political party. So if we treat each other with respect as children of God and come together to say, hey, we need to work together for the good of the country, then we can have that real dialogue that will allow us to move forward and make progress to solve these problems.
Boy, I'll give a big amen to that. Well, very well said, Congresswoman. We appreciate you always coming on the program. Thank you. Tulsi Gabbard.
Okay, that was Sean Hannity, one of the worst people. I still hate that guy from all these years. But anyway, I want to touch on this. Okay, now here's the conflict or the contradiction between going on Tucker Carlson and going on Sean Hannity. You see the contradiction there. On Tucker Carlson, she sounded like a pacifist. She sounded like somebody from the left, a progressive, where the kind of person that would be a campaign surrogate for Bernie Sanders, or the kind of person that was campaigning in 2019, 2020 for president. She goes on Sean Hannity and she agrees mostly with his talking points, which sounds like crap that comes out of the Heritage Foundation. I mean, Joe Manchin is one of the worst people elected in this country in today. He's one of the worst senators. I mean, he's the Democrats' Mitch McConnell. I mean, that's how much of a piece of shit Joe Manchin is. And why would Tulsi Gabbard want to defend him of all people? He's close to Hillary Clinton. He's in the Hillary Clinton orbit. He's a corporate Democrat. He chose Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders. I mean, Hillary Clinton, who's actually basically slandered her back in 2019. To the point where she could basically be court-martialed. Not just Hillary Clinton. And I'm going to get back to the Sean Hannity thing in just a moment here. There's more to this. Speaking of slander, recently, not just Hillary Clinton, but recently, Senator Mitt Romney of Utah did the same thing with regard to Tulsi Gabbard, was talking about the biohazard weapon labs in the Ukraine, and basically talking about how what she did borders on treason. And you put people on trial for treason that could be given the death penalty. I mean, she's trying to, with some of her faults and some of her stances lately, she still has a decent foreign policy, and she's still trying to fucking save people's lives. And what she was saying about nuclear war under Tucker Carlson's show needs to be listened to. But that's the problem with this country. People rather listen to Hillary Clinton, and they rather listen to the Mitt Romneys of the world. And we all know that the Mitt Romneys and the Hillary Clintons are part of the problem. But my God, people still end up listening to Hillary Clinton and the Mitt Romneys of the world. I mean, it's just how it is. It's just in the nature of the beast. But let's get back to the Sean Hannity talking points about big government, and things like the big government or what have you. The so-called bigger government programs. She was campaigning on programs that were to the left of Joe Biden's Build Back Better. The original Build Back Better that was actually not that bad when it was initially presented, but it got pissed down to nothing, where I'm glad it didn't pass because it ended up being nothing. And she campaigned on that. She should have defended her. It was her position. She should have defended that against Sean Hannity. And Sean Hannity talking about, Sean Hannity who beat up on Bill Clinton, call him a socialist in 1995. But today, looking back, and said, well, he took a turn to the center, and why can't Joe Biden do this? And this is the Democrat Socialist Party today. He called it the Democrat Socialist Party in 1995, and now he's realizing that the Democratic Party wasn't socialist in 1995. It's still not fucking socialist today. I wish it was. I wish it was a Labor Party. And, you know, Bernie Sanders has been trying to turn the Democratic Party into a Labor Party. It's a failed effort. God bless Bernie Sanders. He tried. Bless his heart. And talking about the border issue, what have you. My goodness, talking about that, Tulsi Gabbard, talking about Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity, I know you know who William Gein is. He doesn't think too much of Tulsi Gabbard when it comes to issues like, that comes to politicians like Tulsi Gabbard. He basically accused her of being pro-open borders. So, you know, the thing about it is, I mean, she's grifted, but I mean, she still has some basic good politics. And I don't think she knows where to go at this point, because unfortunately, when corporate Democrats like Hillary Clinton attacked her back in 2019. They were out to get her. Revenge from the year 2016 when she told the truth about the rigging process against Bernie Sanders. They were out to get her. And I would actually elaborate more, but my channel could be shut down. We have a disinformation governance board being created as we speak. And I don't want Nina Jankowicz shutting me down for what I want to say right now. But there is a lot that's going on behind the scenes. And the thing about it is, she ended up going to a receptive audience. People who were veterans, some of the libertarian leaning conservatives, and maybe paleoconservative types, they respect the veteran. And they overlooked some of her maybe progressive positions. And so there was that. And I think she went where she felt wanted. And, you know, I wish that the progressives could have worked a little bit harder to protect her against the bullying tactics of Hillary Clinton. Just because Hillary Clinton threw a temper tantrum, some of the progressives decided to go and be like, I'm sorry, Hillary, we supported Bernie, but we're sorry, we're going to make up for it in 2020. I mean, even if we support Bernie again, we're going to make up for it. We're going to vote harder. No. I mean, Susan Sarandon ended up voting for Joe Biden. I mean, Cornel West, God love him. You know, he ended up voting for Joe Biden because they felt guilty that they voted for Jill Stein. What the fuck? Really? Really? I wish Hillary Clinton was telling the truth that she was going to try to become a Green Party candidate. It would have been fucking awesome to see Tulsi Gabbard become a Green Party candidate. I mean, you know, think about it. When I was simping for AOC in 2019, 2020, I was also simping for Tulsi Gabbard at that time. And they were both my favorite members of Congress. I know they weren't exactly chummy with each other, but it made sense for me to be a fan of both of them. Believe me, I had a lot of sexual perverted fantasies about them too, together. Ooh, it was hot too. But the point I'm trying to make is that it was, you know, what went on and all that. I'm just like really, really beside myself. And, you know, just, I mean, I hate this shit that's happened. I really do. I really do. Because, I mean, honestly, she ended up probably re-embracing some cringe positions from earlier in her life that she was discarding from her socially conservative upbringing because of people like Hillary Clinton. She chased them, you know, she chased her out of the left. And that's pretty damn shitty. Somebody to her right chased her out of the left. That's think about the irony there. Anyway, it's just some thoughts in my head about that. But as I said, I just want to sum it up. And I know this is a bit long. She goes on Tucker Carlson. She sounds kind of lefty, goes on Sean Hannity. She ends up mimicking Heritage Foundation talking points, almost 1993 Rush Limbaugh talking points. I know she probably under contract. You got to do that, or you won't go back on Fox, I guess, if you're going on the Sean Hannity show. So, yeah, I guess that's what it is. So, if it's any comfort, I know Mark Levin hates her. So, if that's any comfort, so anybody that Mark Levin hates still can't be all bad. We have a fairly busy chat line here. So let's go at the top here. Fireball Russ, how are you doing this morning? Good morning, little people in my laptop. Good morning. Let's see. Hot Retarded Chicks. Hey, how are you today? I love it when you're up here. Let's see. I know it's kind of, it was like cut and dry, hot and cold what I have to say about Tulsi Gabbard. And I have mixed feelings sometimes. So, I hope you can forgive me. Hey, she's an oracle, and wow, and a perfect 10. Let's see. Too much assumption here. McCrazy. Okay. All right. Let me scroll down further. Let's see. Tulsi is a whole lot more credible than St. Bernie of Sanders and the squad. Well, okay. Here's the thing about it. This all about perspective. You got to understand. Bernie Sanders has been pretty much a mentor to me since 1990. So I was a BernieBro before it became a thing. And you can ask some people in the 1990s said knew me, and they'll be like, hell yeah, he was an annoying Bernie Sanders cultist before there was such a thing. So let's see. Yeah. Let's see here. Green Party is too dim light. It depends on what context. Sexual fantasies between Tulsi and Hillary. Oh God, no. Oh, that's too much of a dishonor to Tulsi. Let's see. Epic. Willie hate dude. All right. Doing great. All right. Let's see. Do we have any more? Well, listen, folks. If you like what you heard, press like, and if you if you don't like, I wish we still had a dislike button, but YouTube doing what it's doing. YouTube is pretty goofy these days. I don't think I can be censored from YouTube for saying that. But hit that like button. Helps with the algorithms. Feel free to share the content on this channel. Comment, good, bad, or indifferent. We'll have a conversation. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we're, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Hit that notification bell. Hit that subscribe button. And I've had an influx of new subscribers in the last few days. And I want to say to you all, thank you very much. And all the other folks that have subscribed to my channel in the last 2.5 years of being on this channel. I don't say this enough. Please, thank you all for helping my channel. And thank you for being loyal listeners. I'm glad somebody's willing to hear me flap my gums. So thank you for y'all listening to me, and y'all mean a lot, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I also want to say that until next time, we have a class struggle to wage, and we have a First Amendment to save, free speech to protect, and a free press to protect, which means, of course, we're all Julian Assange. I will conclude by saying music.